This is the story of Snowflake Bentley. Now, snow in Vermont is as common as dirt. Why would anyone want to photograph it? But from the time he was a small boy, Wilson Bentley thinks of the icy crystals as small miracles, and he determines that one day his camera will capture for others their extraordinary beauty. Often misunderstood in his time, Wilson Bentley took pictures that even today reveal two important truths about snowflakes. First, that no two are alike, and second, that each one is startlingly beautiful. His story, gracefully told by Julene Knudson and brought to life in Mary Azarian's lovely woodcuts, gives children insight into the soul who had not only a scientist's vision and perseverance, but a clear passion for the wonders of nature. I'm so excited to share one of my winter favorites with you today, and I want to share it for three reasons. First, here at Ohio Virtual Academy, February's mindset is passion first. Wilson Bentley exudes passion first. To exude is to sweat, and passion poured out of him like sweat, even on the coldest days. I love snow is my second reason, and I miss the Iowa blizzards of my youth. Last of all, like Snowflake Bentley, I remember the first time I peered into a microscope. I was 9, and it changed me. I was looking at pond water, not snowflakes. But like Bentley, I was astonished at the detail hidden from our sight. I could not get enough of the beauty of microscopic animals and plants. And thanks to Bentley, I had a much easier job of taking photographs through the microscope. I too worked hard to perfect my skills at photo microscopy. Snowflake Bentley was awarded the Caldecott Medal in 1999, and that's quite an accomplishment. I hope you will enjoy this story about Snowflake Bentley, and I hope you will be encouraged by how he lived passion first. Author Jacqueline Briggs Martin lives in Mount Vernon, Iowa. I am sure, as an Iowa girl like me, she enjoys snowy winter days too. Illustrator Mary Azarian lives in Vermont, not far from Bentley's hometown. In days when farmers worked with ox and sled and cut the dark with lantern light, there lived a boy who loved snow more than anything else in the world. While Bentley's happiest days were snowstorm days, he watched snowflakes fall on his mittens, on the dried grass of the Vermont fields, on the dark metal handle of the barn door. He said snow was as beautiful as butterflies and apple blossoms. Wilson Bentley was born February 9th, 1865, right at the end of the American Civil War. He was born on a farm in Jericho, Vermont, between Lake Champlain and Mount Mansfield, in the heart of the snow belt, where the annual snowfall is about 120 inches. Now, Willie Bentley could net butterflies and show them to his brother Charlie. He could pick apple blossoms and take them to his mother, but he could not share snowflakes because he could not save them. Willie's mother was his teacher. That's right, he was taught school at home. She had a set of encyclopedias, Willie said. I read them all. When his mother gave him an old microscope, he used it to look at flowers, raindrops, and blades of grass. Best of all, he used it to look at snow. While other children built forts and pelted snowballs at roasting crows, Willie was catching single snowflakes. Day after stormy day, he studied the icy crystals. From his boyhood on, he studied all forms of moisture. He kept a record of the weather and did many experiments with raindrops. Their articulate patterns were more beautiful than he had ever imagined. He expected to find whole snowflakes that were exactly the same, that were copies of each other, but he never did. Willie decided he must find a way to save snowflakes so others could see their wonderful designs. For 3 winters, he tried drawing snowflakes. They always melted before he could finish. He learned that most crystals had 6 branches, though a few did have 3. For each snowflake, the 6 branches would form differently. I found that the snowflakes were masterpieces of design, he said. No one design was ever repeated. When a snowflake melted, just that much beauty was gone, vanished, without leaving any record. Starting at age 15, he drew 100 snowflake crystals each winter for 3 winters. When he was 16, Willie read of a camera with its own microscope. If I had that camera, I could photograph snowflakes, he told his mother. While Willie's mother knew he would not be happy until he could share what he had seen, fussing with snow is just foolishness, his father said. Still, he loved his son. When Willie was 17, his parents spent their savings and bought that camera. The camera made images on large glass negatives. Its microscope could magnify tiny snowflake crystals from 64 to 3,600 times their actual size. It was taller than a newborn calf, and it cost as much as his father's herd of 10 cows. Willie was sure it was the best camera of all. Even so, his first pictures were failures, no better than shadows. Yet, he would not quit. Mistake by mistake, snowflake by snowflake, Willie worked through every storm. Winter ended, the snow melted, and he had no good pictures. But he wasn't discouraged. He waited for another season of snow. One day, in the second winter, he tried a new experiment, and it worked. Willie had figured out how to photograph snowflakes. Now everyone can see the great beauty in these tiny crystals, he said. Willie's experiment was that he used very small lens opening and only let a little light reach that negative. But he kept the lens open for several seconds, in fact, even up to a minute and a half. He learned too that he could make the snow crystal show up more clearly by using a sharp knife to cut away all the dark parts of the negative around the crystal. This etching meant extra hours of work for each and every photograph, but Willie didn't mind. In those days, nobody cared about snowflake pictures. Neighbors laughed at the idea of photographing snow. Why, snow in Vermont is as common as dirt, they said. We don't need pictures of it. Willie said the photographs were going to be his gift to the world. Other farmers sat by the fire and rode to town with horse and sleigh, while Willie studied snowstorms. He stood at the shed door, held out a black tray to catch the tiny flakes. When he found only jumbled broken crystals, he brushed the tray clean with a turkey feather and held it out again to collect more. He waited hours for just the right crystal and didn't notice the cold. If the shed were warm, the snow would melt. If he breathed on the black tray, the snow would melt. If he twitched a muscle as he held the snow crystal on the long wooden pick, the snowflake would break. He had to work fast or the snow would evaporate before he could even get the slide into place to take its picture. Some winters, he was able to make only a few dozen good pictures. Some winters, though, he made hundreds of pictures. He learned that each snowflake begins with a speck of that Vermont dust or dirt, much too tiny to be seen. Little bits, molecules, of water would attach to that speck of dirt to form its branches. As the crystal grows, the branches come together and trap small quantities of air. Many things affect the way these crystal branches grow. A little more cold, a bit less wind, or a bit more moisture will mean a whole different set of shaped branches. Willie said that's why in all his pictures he never found two snowflakes alike. And the best snowstorm of his life, he said, occurred on Valentine's Day in 1928. He made over 100 photographs during the 2-day storm. He called the storm a gift from King Winter. Willie so loved the beauty of nature, he took pictures in all seasons. In the summer, his nieces and nephews would rub coat hangers with sticky pitch from their spruce trees. Then, Willie could use these to pick up spider webs jeweled with water droplets and take their pictures. On fall nights, he would gently tie a grasshopper to a flower so he could find it in the morning and photograph the dew-covered insect. Willie's nieces and nephews lived on one side of the farmhouse where he grew up. Willie shared this farmhouse with his brother Charlie and his family. Willie often played the piano as they sang and shared stories and games with his nieces and nephews. But his snow crystal pictures were always his favorites. He gave copies away or sold them for a few cents. He made special pictures as gifts for birthdays. Children and adults would sit on the grass and watch while Willie projected his slides onto a sheet hung over a clothesline. Many colleges and universities brought lantern slide copies of his photographs and added to their collections each year. Artists and designers used the photographs to inspire their own work. He wrote about snow and published his pictures in magazines. He gave speeches about snow to faraway scholars and neighborhood skywatchers. "You are doing a great work," said a professor from Wisconsin. The little farmer became to be known as the world's expert on snow. They called Willie the Snowflake Man. But he never grew rich. He spent every penny on his pictures. Willie said they were treasures in snow. "I can't afford to miss a single snowstorm," he told a friend. "I never know when I will find some wonderful prize to take a picture of." Other scientists raised money so Willie could gather his best photographs into a book. When he was 66 years old, Willie's book, His Gift to the World, was published. Still, he was not ready to quit. Even today, those who want to learn about snow crystals begin with Wilson Bentley's book, Snow Crystals. By 1926, he spent $15,000 on his work and received $4,000 from the sale of photographs and his slides. Less than a month after turning the first page in his book, Willie walked 6 miles home in a blizzard so he could make more pictures. He became ill with pneumonia after that walk, and he died just 2 weeks later. A monument was built for Willie in the center of town, there in Jericho, Vermont. The girls and boys who had been his neighbors grew up and told their sons and daughters and grandchildren the story of the man who loved snow. 40 years after Wilson Bentley's death, children in his village worked to set up a museum in honor of the farmer scientist. And his book has taken the delicate snow crystals that once blew across Vermont, past mountains, over the entire earth. Neighbors and strangers have come to know the icy wonders that land on their own mittens, thanks to Snowflake Bentley. The plaque on the monument says, Snowflake Bentley, Jericho's world-famous snowflake authority. For 50 years, Wilson A. Bentley, a simple farmer, developed his technique of microphotography to reveal to the world the grandeur and mystery of the snowflake, its universal hexagonal shape, and its infinite number of lovely designs. The average dairy farmer gets up at dawn because he has to go to work in the cow yard. I get up at dawn too, but it's because I want to find some leaf hung with dew or a spider web, which the dew has made into the most delicate ropes of pearl. I take my pictures with me, I take my camera with me, get down on my knees in the wet grass and photograph these exquisite bits of nature. Because I do this, I can show these lovely things to people who would never have seen them without my help. They will get their daily quart of milk all right. Other farmers will tend to that. But I think I am giving them something which is just important: the beauty of nature. Thank you for taking time to listen to the story of this extraordinary man from Jericho, Vermont, the Snowflake Man, Wilson Bentley. I hope you have enjoyed this book and that you will check it out, along with other books about him and videos that talk about him on the YouTube channel. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful winter day.